Hi guys, this is Lydia Wente, the lifestyle coach, and we have a super special treat today. I'm really excited to introduce you to one of my personal clients. She has had just a really amazing experience, and for those of you who don't know, I coach mindfulness and neuroscience principles kind of combined to overcome lots of sorts of habits, to really break habits, create new ones, and binge eating is something that is is the kind of special and specific that I do. I work with a lot of women who have what I call foodshues, like issues around food, and so I have a client that I've been coaching with kind of her eating stuff, and I just wanted you guys to meet her. She's willing to come on the show, which I thought was just so fun. And we're just going to hear a little bit about her story so you can get a real life experience, not just how you usually hear about what these principles are and how to practice them, but actually how they work in someone's real life. So without further ado, I want to introduce my wonderful client, Michelle. Michelle, welcome to the show.
Hi.
So happy to have you here. So
thank you.
Just so everyone can kind of get to know you a little bit, tell me a little bit about life before we were connected. So kind of talking about kind of the reasons why you sought out this information, or what were the things that you were struggling the most with when we first got connected?
Binging and purging. Binging and purging have been going on probably for around 6 years. Of course, it gradually got worse. In the beginning, it was just, on special occasions, just once in a while, something, then would trigger it. Then, as the years went on, it just became more frequent. The binging, the purging, the over-exercising. Probably, I would say about 2 to 3 years ago is when I really started looking for help, looking to recover. A lot of self-help, a lot of traditional therapy, hypnotherapy, essential oils. I've tried, I feel like everything, trying to stop the urge to binge. I didn't know why I always had the urge to binge. In the beginning, I had a feeling I knew why I was at a low weight, but then after I gained weight, I put on weight, I knew that couldn't be the reason anymore. So I was still seeking, trying to figure out why I was still wanting to binge. And it's like I said, it's been about 3 years that I've tried so many different things that I on a daily basis. I mean, there wasn't a day that went by that I didn't research and tried to get better, tried to find something. And I did. I tried them all. And, sometimes they would work. Sometimes they would work, but it would just be that, short period of time. And then the urges came back. And it would just be just a bad cycle. And it just felt like it was never going to end. It felt that I was going to, this was how the rest of my life was going to be. So I was alone one night and I was up late, and I knew there had to be an answer, and I was digging deeper, on my Google search, just keep digging and trying to find, and that's when I found the book, the Brain Over Binge, or binge. Now I'm totally.
Yep. Brain Over Binge.
Brain Over Binge.
Yep, you got it.
So I found that. I read that very quickly. I was very excited. And it was good. I felt confident. But my binges didn't stop. My urges didn't stop. And I didn't know why. So I believe I just kept, I went onto the website and I kept reading into, maybe I was missing something, and I came across you. I went onto your YouTube and your videos. When I saw your videos, I never laughed before about my disorder, about the binging, the purging. When I watched your videos, it was awesome. It was real. I laughed because I was like, oh my gosh, she's so funny. This is so true. And I had to watch so many of your videos, read your ebook in such a short amount of time. And that very day that I completed your ebook and your principles, that was the last time that I've ever had a binge or purge. I had the urge, but I knew how to take care of it. But it was since then that I haven't had, any binge episode or anything. And then that was really it. And then I knew I had to go into it further and talk to you and speak with you, because I always felt like on edge, like I didn't want to miss something, and I didn't want to, I wanted to do it right. I wanted to make sure I had the principles correctly. So that's when I decided to take your coaching.
Awesome. First, congratulations.
I know. Thank you.
Such a beautiful and exciting thing. And Michelle, I'm so happy for you. And you know that I know like how that feels. It's just such, like you said, like, when is this going to end? Like, is this just the way life is going to be? Like, it's such a frustrating and sad place to be in. And like, so congratulations for like,
thank you.
To search. I'm so excited for what's happened for you. And I also, for those watching, wanted to back up a little bit and hear a little bit about like your experience. So for like the language that we're using, like the urge to binge, for somebody who doesn't really know what that means, like what was the urge to binge like for you? And then if you wouldn't mind describing a little bit about what your binges looked like how you felt, like what was happening, so people kind of get a picture of like what the urge and what the actual binging is like.
So the urge is was a very anxious, intense feeling. It was, my heart would race. I just knew I needed food to soothe whatever I was feeling at the moment. I mean, it ended up being that I would have an urge to just, it felt like anything. If I was happy, sad, angry, it could have been anything. Anything was a trigger for me to have an urge. The urge always led me to food. And it never was just, wanted nourishment. It was always, I had to binge. So once I had that urge, I had to find a way to get food, get it fast, and binge. And it was just this disgusting, horrible feeling that I had. I felt that I literally was being taken over by something else. It was really upsetting me that I couldn't figure out what was going on with me and why these urges were so intense, and why it was always food, why it was always to binge. I would binge on a lot of food in such a short amount of time. I would purge, and then I would binge more and purge. I would do it. I would usually binge and eat so much food even if I didn't like the food, I still would eat it. It was just this such a strong feeling that I felt like was like forcing food in my mouth. I just had to get it in my mouth, and it was whatever. You know what? It could have been vegetables. It could have been fruit. It could have been anything. Like I said, it could have been something I didn't like, but I wasn't even hungry, and I still ate, and so I was very uncomfortable. And sometimes I wouldn't purge, but most of the times I would. And then I would suffer for days after of pain, like mentally, physically. It's horrible, just horrible. Binging itself is just a horrible feeling. And then the purging on top of that, the exercising, trying to exercise after all that feeling it just takes such a huge toll on your body. There was nights that I didn't think I was going to wake up in the morning because I felt like so physically exhausted. And sometimes, if I didn't purge, the binging, I would eat so much. My stomach was so full, I would lay in bed at nighttime, and you have a hard time breathing because you're so full, and your stomach is huge. And I thought, oh God, like I'm so tired physically, mentally, but I didn't ever thought that, sometimes I thought I was just never going to wake up because of how intense I shoved food in my face. And in all that, a lot of times I was very sneaky. And that was one thing, like I still can't forgive myself for the sneakiness about binging and purging, especially having a family with my 4 children. It's very difficult. So that is definitely a big part of the binging and the purging, was being sneaky.
Wow. Thank you so much for describing that. And just, Michelle, like your vulnerability and your willingness to share, like, I feel like there's a lot of kind of stigma in our culture around, eating disorders or whatever it is. So like you sharing is a big deal for like those watching. And, a lot of the women that I coach, like no one else knows, like you said, the sneakiness, like a lot of times, like no one else knows about this, and they're literally alone. And like, so thank you so much for sharing. And that feeling, just like that uncomfortable feeling. Like I remember like, after a binge, like just going for runs, like just trying to run it off, and like eating a huge amount of food and then just running and running and running. It's just, it just feels like such a punishment. And it's just like, and it's almost mentally worse. So like, it's such a hard place to be in. And for you, like how long would you say that this has been an issue for you?
The binging and purging, the binging started first, and that was probably around 29 years old, maybe 30 years old. So it's been a good 4 to 5 years that I've been actually binging. The purging started occurring not too long after, but it was the overexercising occurred first, and then the purging became. So probably I would say probably 4 years, that I've been doing both.
Yeah. So over those, 4 or 5 years, like for you, Michelle, there's obviously like the mental and the physical issues of just your personal like world, but like how did this impact you just like in your life? Like what were the costs of having the binging and purging habit?
So that's actually something that I think about very frequently, because I have young kids, and I feel that I wasn't the best mom that I could have been. Avoiding going to family parties with my husband and my children to stay behind because I was so afraid that, would trigger a binge, or avoiding a family party because I didn't want anybody to see the way I looked after a binge. Like if I've binged frequently, I would avoid even afterwards because I didn't feel comfortable. I thought it was very obvious to everybody else. So I definitely would sit out a lot in this, since I've been binging and purging, just to avoid it. I know I feel my kids may have picked up some bad habits, eating habits, just being miserable around food and the anxiety, not having friends over to my house because I didn't want them to bring a dessert and it be left at my house, or I didn't want, or as I said before, I didn't want them to see me, heavier or just miserable. And I just avoided a lot of that. I know the day I had Greek Easter, and I knew, like right then, I knew it's been years since I was able to enjoy myself. And after that day, I said to my husband, I said, we need to go make plans. We need to go out with friends. I want to go just be with people now. Now I want to be with people that I feel I've missed out. I want to enjoy my life. And that's my goal. My goal right now is to spend time with my family, my friends, and not to sweat the food anymore, not to sweat the worrying about the triggers and the urges and because now I know how to handle it.
Yeah. Yay! That's so awesome. Like you said, just like enjoy your life. I know that I mean, for me as well, Michelle, like that was a big feeling of like, I was so mad that I had this wonderful life that I couldn't enjoy, like it was just such a big obstacle. So yes. And I would love to talk some more about that, but want to go switch gears a little bit to, you said that you watched the videos, you read the ebook, and you're pretty much like, done. Like you said, you haven't binged or purged since. Tell me a little bit about so I know that you got in contact with me, and we set up a coaching package, and it was so fun to like meet you and hear your story and start partnering with you. So tell me a little bit about, how did the one-on-one coaching make an impact or change things for you? Like what was some of the value that came out of the one-on-one time?
Clarity. And I know that's the name of the session, but it was clarity. I needed to, and I know you say that you can't do it wrong, but I just wanted to speak with you and make sure that I understood everything. And just to have you by my side, you were so different from everybody else, and I knew that right away from your videos. To have you by my side every week to check in with you for those 4 weeks, when I checked in with you, I looked forward to it. I wanted to celebrate with you, and just it was the definitely what I needed to be in my recovery. It needed to complete it.
Awesome. And so would I. I mean, I always look forward to chatting with you because it's so fun. And like, I just want for those watching to know that like the one-on-one time is not, I mean, celebrating is awesome, but it's like through the ups and downs. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like, hey, report to me everything that's going awesome. It's really about like you are a person with like your own life and your own brain. So let's be able to like adjust and be flexible and see like what works and try something new. And like, oh, here's
Yes.
a place that we're struggling. So it's like, yeah. And it's been so fun to kind of see those little adjustments as we go along to, like you said, like up the enjoyment. Okay, like how can this be even better and we can enjoy it even more? So speaking of like enjoying our lives, tell me a little bit like, okay, so you mentioned briefly like Greek Easter. So help our viewers know a little bit about like, what was kind of the big deal leading up to Greek Easter? What was that experience for you? And how is that different than it had been in the past?
Um, well, in the past, while I was binging and purging, I would think about events months from now, worried, worried if I was going to binge. I would also, it would go two ways, because I also would think like, oh, like what kind of food would they have? And, also think about what I was going to eat. So it would go back and forth. When Greek Easter was coming, when we had one of our sessions, I talked to you about it, and you had recommended to do the imagination. Was it the
Yeah, we
imagination?
call it like the virtual reality chatter.
Oh gosh,
Yeah.
virtual, yes. Which I did. Whenever I thought about Greek Easter, so the week prior, whenever it would come up, I just I would picture myself at Greek Easter, and I just called out the chatter, and it was amazing. I didn't know it was going to work until Greek Easter came, and maybe I did it so frequently that when Greek Easter came, I didn't really have the urge, because they have already called it out during the week when I was doing the virtual reality thing. So with Greek Easter, it felt like I guess it just felt like very natural, and I was happy and able to enjoy and eat, and no urge popped up, because I felt like I've already experienced it. Any other event while I used the principles while I was binging and purging, I would have been a mess. I would have been a mess before. I would have been stressed, and you could tell. People I think knew there was something bothering me, because it's just, I was always just anxious and stressed, and I would usually always, for the most part, always give in to the urges, and I would find a way throughout an event, to eat the food and end up binging.
Yeah. And just to be able to go and like enjoy the people and like tell us a little bit, like what other things do you just love about life now? Like what is kind of like this journey of recovery feel like now that these things are more out of the way? And I don't want to declare anyone like, and now you're cured and everything's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what? Like we have ups and downs and things can happen, but I know for you, you have seen like a wonderful breath, like breathing room, like
Oh
time.
my gosh, yes.
So like, tell us a little bit about, you talked about just like you have more, mental energy, or like you're doing more things, or you want to go out with people. What's come up for you? What does it feel like to kind of have these changed feelings around food?
Well, definitely. I definitely agree. Life still goes on after, when you're in recovery. It's just, you're going to have your ups and downs with life. It's not like a cure fix for, your obstacles. It's, but I just feel, even though I can handle the binging, and obviously if I can handle the binging, the purging, I don't have to worry about. I just feel everything feels less stress. So I have, between my children and the business, I have things come up all the time. um, it's easier to handle, because before I would just go right to food. Every single time I came up with something, I would go right to food. It made things 10 times worse to handle. And sometimes I wouldn't even handle them, and I would handle them, days after I would start feeling better. It's, it's definitely just made it easier for me to think about, like, just have more room to think, more, like you said, mental energy to do other things, to think about other things. There was days where I would sit in my house and I would just sit there and I would have the urge to binge because I was sitting there doing nothing. I had a million things I knew I had to do, but I would always have the urge. Now I can get things done. Now I can actually start, getting to, where I want to be, getting to my goals, because the food, the binging is I pushed it away. I'm using the principles. I'm learning to set it aside and get done what I need to get done. And that's, I'll deal with things, how I should deal with them, not with food and making things 100 times worse.
Yeah. It's amazing to just like have that bandwidth back. You know what I mean? Like, stopping binge eating certainly doesn't fix all your problems, but it makes all your problems a lot easier to fix, right? Because it's like, because you don't have to think in the way.
You can put you can use your whole mind, and it's what you really think, instead of being having a binged, and your mind, your thoughts are totally different at that point. So if you're not binging and you think through things differently.
Beautiful. And Michelle, I just want to celebrate you, and not celebrate like, look, you're not binging, even though that's really cool, but like celebrate the work that you've done. Like, celebrate that you were open to seeing things another way. Celebrate that you were willing to reach out. Celebrate that you were willing to, like, even when things seemed hard or rocky, like just that tenaciousness of like, okay, I'm just going to keep going, and I'm just willing to, try things on, and, try things out. And that's what it's all about, just those consistent choices. And it's a scary thing to do something new, and you're taking a step into the dark. But the things that have happened in your life because of it are so beautiful. And I am just so incredibly happy for you.
Thank you.
What advice did you give Michelle for like somebody who maybe is really struggling with binge eating? Maybe this is like the first thing that they've seen about this. Like, what advice would you give somebody kind of wanting to know what to do?
Reach out to you. If I ever had a chance to help anybody, I will tell them my story and lead them right to you. That it's okay, that we're, they're not alone. I know, we hear that often, with many of things, but, with when you binge or purge, or you have this eating disorder, it's, such a secretive thing, and you think that nobody understands and nobody knows, and nobody does what I do. But just, yes, there are plenty of people that are like us. And I pray that everyone that is suffering from any disorder, they just never give up. They never give up. And I would lead them right to you, and hope that you can help them, and everything's going to be okay.
I adore you, Michelle. Thank you for sharing you and who you are and your story. Like, it is so incredibly valuable, so incredibly valuable. So thank you, thank you.
You're
And for
welcome.
those of you who are wondering a little bit about, the videos and the ebook that Michelle was talking about, if you go to www.lydiawente.com, I have an ebook on there. It's a free download. It comes right to your email at lydiavideo.com. I also have weekly videos that come out every Monday about the keys that Michelle's talking about, that she's just put into practice in her own life and has made this difference for her. And really, I mean, those things are just to help people to enjoy their life better, just like Michelle has talked about. So thank you so much for being on with us. Just
You're
beautiful,
welcome.
beautiful words. Thank you for just
You're
being
welcome.
you and the willingness to share. And this is Lydia Wente, the lifestyle coach, and Michelle, the free
Thank
woman who
you.
enjoys her life. And we will see you guys soon. Bye. Mwah.
Bye. Thank you.